Good morning, friends, and welcome to another painting stream. How's everybody doing this Friday morning? It's Friday. Sure is Friday. Hey, I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos here in the internet, and this is my painting stream. Finally Friday. Hello, Lobster of Revenge. Greetings. Glad you could be here. And Sphere Song, who showed up in chat almost before I went live. That was pretty impressive. Thank you for being here. I'm going to move this light. There we go. That's a little bit better. Whatever. I need better lighting. I need several upgrades to my painting nook and to my stream. But that's not what today is about. Today is about finishing Friday and doing some final details on a couple of pieces. Let's go over to ZoomCam and take a look-see at what we have going on. So, folks will recall... folks will recall I was working on this Stormcast Eternal figure on Wednesday, last night, or yesterday, Thursday. We didn't get an opportunity to do any painting on stream because my stream wouldn't run, which was frustrating. But it's okay now. Things are working. Is that too washed out? Yeah, I want that a tad darker. Yeah, that'll do. Anywho, so yeah, this is what I've been working on. It's my first attempt at doing light sourcing on a mini. Well, my second attempt, but I feel like I'm slowly figuring it out. There's a couple of things that I'm not super happy with on this model, and there's a few details that I want to bring a little bit more attention to. So we're going to work on some of that today. It's looking generally pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. But I feel like there's a couple areas where it could be better. I will say... Oh, why is this... No, okay, we're okay. I will say there's some areas of this that I'm quite happy with, and there's some areas that definitely are not looking quite the way I envisioned them. So let's look at the areas that I'm most happy with. Right here, I don't know if you can see the fine white line that I've got there that sort of gives the implication that this is reflecting light. That's something I'm very happy with. Not as happy with the white on the gold. That didn't come out looking quite the way I wanted it to look. So we're going to try and work on that a little today. I did it up here on the top of his head, over here on his pauldron. The effect I was going for was of sort of a sparkle of light on gold, that sort of specular highlight that makes it appear that it's reflecting or reflective. But it came out looking like it's snowed on his head. It was too white and too clumpy and not quite what I want. So we're going to try and work on that a little bit. We'll probably try and work on this lightning bolt here, edge of the shield over here. Just a couple little things. The base, as you'll recall, last stream I accidentally poured blue wash all over the base. So we're going to sort of lighten that up a little bit, try and bring some of the light sourcing from the top down into the base to make it appear that those light sources are reaching the base. And I'm just going to add some sort of smaller edging bits to make it pop. I'm quite happy with the way the wash made the robe look. You can see the wash in the robe, and it looks really nice. That was super easy, and it has, you know, some definition to it. So we're going to add a little bit of detail on the robe. And we're going to work a little bit on some of the yellow bits here. Not a lot that needs to be done, I think. So we're going to do that. And then, you'll recall last Friday, on Finishing Friday, I was finishing some of my WarCry figures. And during this week, I went in and messed with their eyes, and they are awful. I really messed them up. So I have a plan of attack, and we're going to try and do something with those eyes. I also want to get an opportunity to play around with some new brushes I got. These are the new Citadel synthetic brushes that Games Workshop has just released. So I got myself a few of those, and we're gonna try using this small dry brush for some of the detail work that we're gonna do today, and we'll see how that looks. So yeah, new brushes. You can see they've got white bristles. This should make it easier to see the details in the model. Oh, Spearsong just wrote a novel in chat. Oh, cool character ideas from Van Richter. So true. A doctor's apprentice goes to serve a new master who turns out to be a madman. Very plausible in Van Richter's. They drug the character and rebuild them as a cyborg, powered by draining the life force from everything around it. Yep, using the Death Touch Dark Gift. The character is perpetually tortured by being turned from a healer into a source of death. That sounds like such a great character. You're absolutely right. Van Richten's guide, when I was reading it, I described it to Amanda as Plot Hooks, the book. It is nothing but brilliant ideas for making characters and doing interesting things with your characters. Like, as a DM, just thinking about some of the things you can do with some of the ancestries that they've created, it's a gift. I'm really, like I said, Spearsong, I absolutely will reach out to you when I am getting ready to do a Ravenloft campaign. I'm in the middle of planning this Alien RPG thing that I'm doing later this month and next month. But when I'm done with that, I'll get in touch with you about doing D&D. All right. So here's my plan for the gold bits here, where I've got this white that doesn't quite work. I'm going to try and hit them with this incredibly bright lemon yellow instead of the white, and see if that does a better job of selling the idea that it is gold reflecting the light. I don't know how this is going to look, so it's an experiment, but let's find out together. And it's an opportunity to use my new dry brush. Okay. So this entire stream very much about experimentation, obviously. Okay, so because it's yellow over white here, it actually, yeah, it looks pretty good. So this dry brush is not as stiff as my Army Painter dry brush. but it does have a nice fine edge. My Army Painter dry brush is beginning to lose its edge because I've been mashing it against stuff so much, obviously. Yeah, that looks better. I think that looks better. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how these lighting effects are coming out. The green effect down here definitely came out looking better than the blue effect up on this end. Yeah, this is an exciting color. It's weird to say, but yeah. My experience with yellows, and I think Amanda would echo me on this, especially this particular one, it's a very watery, thin color. And it tends to disappear if you don't have a way to make it work. In this case, I actually may have done myself a favor by painting the white because the yellow highlights the white nicely. Put this little blep on his head and it doesn't look great. That's better. I need to get more practice in on non-metallic metals. It's definitely something I'm going to need to work on. I'll have to get a figure that has a lot of armor that I can sort of practice that with. Alright, let's continue to do this sort of yellow edging on some of the other areas of the gold. Do it down here. Do it on this little lightning bolt. Top surface of this knee. Maybe this little lightning bolt here. Getting to smaller, more delicate areas now. These little brads or rivets that are here. I want to highlight a little bit. Okay. I want to give some more texture to the brown there. So this little blep here is from when I was gluing the shield on. I had white on my finger and just pressed it on there. So let's get the yellow that I had been using for the shield. This is the base coat that I used for the shield, this filthy brown, this sort of lemon yellow, or I'm sorry, mustard yellow. I'll go in with that. Just to clean up this shield here a bit. Okay, and on the edge of this lightning bolt here, again we're going back to that bright yellow. And this lightning bolt here. Okay. So that gives a little definition in here. It's a little better. Cool. I'm gonna get a not as bright blue. My white bristles are now yellow bristles. I guess this will make it more clear when the brush is clean. I want to give a little bit of highlighting on the robe and maybe the edge of the shield here without going too extreme. And like I said, I want to add some definition to the metal there, maybe to this stuff that's hanging there. what blue do I use there? I don't want to go this light, because that's what I've done for the highlights here to imply that there's lighting from his mace. I don't know if I have a blue that's exactly the shade I'm looking for. You think? While I ponder that, let's look at the base down here and add in some more of this pale blue, deep sky blue onto the base. Just continuing to sell the light sourcing. Because this light source would reach down to here. Trying to make it look as if there's shadows, perhaps, as well as the light sourcing. I like introducing a little bit of contrast here. So you've got the very dark blue, the sort of medium blue, and then the very light blue. little bit of light reaching down to the ground behind him here. So trying to get just a little highlight as of that light reaching down here. Thank you, Sphere Song. I agree. The yellow looks better than the white as a highlight on the pauldron. Makes it look a little bit more like gold, which is, what we were going for. Maybe I should get a little on the back of his hand here. I've got this little plate that I've done gold on the back of his hand. Okay. And I'm also going to, after I'm done doing these sort of bluish highlights here, I'm going to go back to the green, and we're going to bring the green down on this side, because this is the green glowy thing here. We're trying to get that effect as well. And I'm kind of thinking, my plan is that that the two colors meet on the base here, as if there's the blue shining here and the green shining here. We'll see how it looks. I think maybe I want a little bit of blue on the inside of the shield here. That's more than I really intended, but that's fine. That happens. Here we go. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. All right. Ugh. Went too dark there. Gonna have to tone that down. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, green. So for the green, I've been using this lime green for the green light. much happier with how the green highlights came out looking than the blue ones. Just looks cooler. Too much paint on the brush. This is a delicate balancing act, as always with finishing and dry brushing and such. I want just enough to sell the notion without being overbearing. You can see I'm sort of using the edge of the brush to pull the paint in. Again, trying to imply that there's shadows. That looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to add a little bit of brown in here, light brown. Just to add some contrast. We'll go with the cork brown, which is a good light brown. Don't want to go overboard with this. This is something I want to be very delicate with. This is just subtle shading and not something extreme. I just don't want the leather to be boring. Like if it's all one color or a little two-tone with the wash, it's just a little boring. Okay, I want to fix up the cowl right in front of him there. I went a little bit overboard with the light blue. It doesn't quite work. So this is, I'm just going to tone it back down a little bit. with the royal blue that's the base coat. Try and get in the crevice here, pull that back a bit. Better? Okay. This fellow's getting pretty close to done, I think. I am going to do a little bit more with the off-white. That's that really brilliant bright white that I've been using. Just on the areas that are meant to be silver. And this is a case where I could totally go wrong. So I want to be very, very, very careful with this. But this little anvil here just needs a little touch of something. Make it look more interesting. And this one here. And on the beads. Just trying to very delicately give them the implication that they're shiny. I think that worked pretty well. Cool. Just a touch here. Well, I think for a first try at light sourcing and at trying to get that contrast going, I feel like this came out looking pretty good. I think it captures the mood I was going for. So the only other piece that I really want to do on this is I want to do something here on the pauldron. But I'm going to leave that for later because I have an idea, but it depends on other stuff happening first. But I think for now, I'm going to put this aside and call it mostly done. Oh, you know what I can do to move it from mostly done to almost completely done? Let's paint around the edge of the base. I'm going to clean this brush. This is my brand new brush, and already it is no longer white. It has taken on a variety of hues. It looks very pretty. So I'm already thinking about what else I could do with this particular figure if I were to do it again. I think, assuming that this stream continues onward, if I come back to, if I'm still streaming this time next year, then I'm going to do another one of these figures a year from now, and we'll see just what improvements I've made or what changes I've made in the way that I paint when we come back to it next year. So this is my medium shade brush. It's a nice broad tipped brush, and I'm just going to do plain black around the edge of the base here, just to clean it up a little bit. And then we're going to put this fellow aside, and like I said, I'll come back and maybe do something on that pauldron, but that's something for a later date. Right now we're just going to clean this up, because it's a little bit messy around the edge there. Especially considering that this base was completely doused in that blue wash. I think that worked out okay, because it makes this area underneath the model there look like it's in deep blue shadow, and that kind of works for what I was trying to do. Overall, the spilling of the wash last week could have been, or last week on Wednesday, could have been so much worse. It really, I lucked out that it wasn't a lot worse than it ended up being. It got on the base and on a portion of the shield that I had completed, but the bit on the shield actually kind of worked. And again, the base kind of works, so it's fine. Everything's fine. There. Alright, let's put him aside. And let's reset a little bit. Let's talk about eyeballs. Alright, so I have a plan, chat. I have a scheme. I've been thinking about how to make eyeballs work on models. I haven't looked up any tutorials or anything, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who have talked about this. But when you're working on the scale of these models, and you're trying to do tiny details like eyeballs, they're just infamous. I mean, for one thing, the human brain recognizes faces, right? It is able to pick out subtle cues that imply emotion. Like you get, just at a glance at a face, you get a sense of emotion from it. And that's all, instinctual. It's built into our psyche. And that's why for some people who don't have that, it can be very awkward and difficult to interact with people. But when you're considering models, the eyeballs, which are such tiny, tiny details, have a big impact on how the model appears, even though it's just a tiny little detail. So they're easy to mess up at that scale, and they have a large impact on the feel of the model. So for a bunch of the WarCry minis that I did the eyeballs and they came out fine. And good enough, right? They look a little goofy, maybe, but they're fine. For some of these folks with helmets, I've been struggling with the eyes because it's just a very small area to get into and very difficult to work with. So here is my theory, okay? And I'm going to sort of illustrate this on my pad here. This is what I believe I should be able to do with the eyes. And I'm just going to use a generic brush for this. So what you want is a tiny speck in a wider white area, and then you want the flesh around it. As with any painting, you kind of want to paint it in reverse. So my theory is, do the iris, the eyeball first, right? And then paint the whites of the eye on either side of it, like that. And then paint the eyelids on, the flesh, above and below. Obviously, I'm doing this at a larger scale. And then you have an eye. That's my theory. Let's see if it can work in practice. So what I'm going to do, not on this guy, because this guy doesn't even have eyes. It's very peculiar. When I went in to highlight his eye pits, they're just pits. So we're not worrying about him. It's these three Untamed Beasts that I want to try and do this with. Friday is eye day. Slit pupils like cats. I thought about doing that. I have a cat in this army, as you folks saw. This, I think it's called a rock jumper or something like that. But I just chose to keep the eyes green with a little yellow highlight. Pretty happy with how that came out. Anyways. For these three here, let's see if I can make this work. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. So for eye tone, I think I had chosen for these folks just no, not a basalt gray, the necromancer cloak. Sort of a blue-gray. It's not black, but it's very dark. Thank you, Sphere Song. I have a plan of attack, right? And possibly that will help. Then we're going to get my finest brush, which is my Psycho brush. And then at each stage, I know this is going to be a little bit ugly, but hopefully it will get better as I go. This one is particularly difficult because I'm trying to paint behind these fangs. Yeah, and I'm painting the fang on the helmet and not the face. I may just have to accept the fact that I cannot get behind these teeth here on this figure. It just might be too difficult a task. So I might just leave that. There's kind of an implication of eyes on this now, and I think that might be enough. Sorry, I'm just touching up the fang where I painted over bits that I didn't want painted over. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. I'm going to call that done. I'm going to put this one aside. I really like how some of these figures came out, though. In the end. Oh, where'd this blue come from? How'd that happen? I don't know where that even came from. Alright, so let's call that done. And let's see if I can work on the eyes on these other two. Using my new theory of eyeball painting. So, supposedly, goat eyes and that sort of slit iris thing gives them the ability to see the polarization of light. So if you've ever done like polarized light experiments where you have like I guess it's like a mylar sheet that's been treated so that the light looks differently when you hold the sheet at different angles because of the polarization of the light. Supposedly slit irises like goats have and like squids have, like some cephalopods, give them the ability to see that naturally by tilting their heads or whatever. And I suppose that gives them some advantages, like in terms of detecting things. They see differently than we do, which is cool. Their eyes work differently. They have special eyes. Okay. So, we're going to start in. God, this is tiny. With the portion that's going to end up being the iris. And yeah, it fills the entire eye socket at this scale. And we'll set that aside to dry while we do the same thing for this fellow. Looks not bad. Luckily, when we're dealing with this little paint, it takes almost no time for it to dry. Oh God. Thank you, Sphere Song. Yes, they're specialized with their special eyes. Okay. So now we want the whites of the eye not to be in the center, but to be on the sides. So I'm going to try and go in from the sides, leaving the iris black. Okay, fine. Just so much. Alright, he looks awful now, but that's fine. Alright. And on this fellow, he's got his helmet. Same for this one. kind of getting a little white on the helmet portion, which I'm going to paint back over. I'm trying to get some in there to imply that there are whites to his eyes. This particular model has a very peculiar chin. I'm wondering if that was in the construction stage that it happened. Alright, so both of these now have big white areas and very tiny black areas. Now, we'll go back in and color around that. For this guy, I'm going to be doing the silver of his helmet. So I need my silver, which I had dropped on the floor the other day, but I think I picked up. Where did I put it? Ah, there it is. Using gunmetal gray. Yeah, not convinced that's working. He looks kind of cartoonish. I think he needs some flesh tone on his nose and the bridge there. What was I using for his flesh tone? I think it was this rose brown. It's so bright though, I don't want to do that. Try just a little cork brown. Trying to do the implication of eyelids without actually painting in eyelids. think just the fact that these are inside of a helmet is making this a bit too difficult. Let's call that done for now. Let's go to this fellow. Boy, he looks goofy right now. But that's fine. We're going to go to flat brown and paint in around his eyes, the helmet. So first let's give him some eyelids with cork brown. Just at the top and bottom. Better. And then we're going to go the dark brown around the edges here. That looks weird, but passable, I guess. He looks a little cross-eyed. You guys probably can't tell. But he's also got this really weird chin, which looks like it was sculpted poorly. His head's not flush with the rest of his body. So, good enough. Alright, so that's those three figures I wanted to do a little bit of work on. They're looking better now than they were when I started today, so that's a positive. No, that's a good point, Sphere Song. Most animals, if you can see the whites of their eyes, they are really opening their eyes quite wide. It makes them look shocked and startled. I'm pretty happy with how that fellow came out. It is only 11:10. We have lots of time to do other stuff. So I'm going to work on some other stuff. What should I work on? I have some old WarCry terrain I could work on. Let's work on a couple of these WarCry terrain fountains. Because I sort of did some work on these, but they need more. They've gathered some dust in the interim. I'm going to use another of my new brushes. use my small layer brush. We'll see how this works. There's a whole bunch of these tiny WarCry terrain pieces that I don't think have any practical use in the game, but I figured would be fun to paint. So we'll work on some of those for the remainder of today's stream. I'm pretty happy with today, though. We definitely got the things I wanted to do done. Fixed some eyeballs. Worked on that Stormcast Eternal figure. I'm liking these new brushes so far. I mean, part of it is just new brushes. My old brushes are getting splayed and a little worn out, so it's nice just to have new brushes. But I'm also pretty satisfied with the stiffness of them and the way that they hold the paint. Their accuracy so far, quite nice. Quite pleased with the new brushes. I'm curious to see how they hold up over time. Because obviously, I use my brushes a lot. I put them through a lot. So I'm curious to see how these folks do over a longer period of time. So WarCry is to Warhammer Age of Sigmar as Kill Team is to Warhammer 40k, which is to say WarCry is intended to be a smaller skirmish-based game. All this WarCry stuff I have been painting over the course of the last couple of months is from the 2020 WarCry starter box, which was a lot of models, as you can certainly imply from the amount of time it's taken me to do the work that I've done. There's a new Age of Sigmar dropping later this month, I believe, or early next month. Games Workshop has announced it, but I don't have a specific date on it yet. But Age of Sigmar 3.0 is right on the horizon. I doubt that I am going to undertake to paint the entire starter box for Age of Sigmar. Just knowing how incredibly slow I am when it comes to painting, I feel like that would be a massive undertaking that would again take me months, and I have other projects that I want to work on. When I'm done with all this WarCry stuff, and I've got 6 figures left to go, and a bunch of terrain, I may just skip some of the terrain. There's so much of it. And I don't think it makes for particularly gripping viewing the painting of it. It's going to get monotonous because there's a lot of it and I'm doing the same things over and over again. But anyhow, when I'm done with what I'm going to do of WarCry, with the remaining terrain and those last 6 figures, I think the next thing I'm going to work on is Marvel Crisis Protocol. I want to paint up a demo of the base set for the Abington location of Battleground, so that if folks come in, they can try it out. And then I have a few figures that I want to do, just like a diorama or two. I want to do a small Wakanda display, because my favorite of the Marvel movies is Black Panther. And I have several Black Panther models. Like I have Black Panther, Killmonger, Okoye, I think, can't remember who else is in the set with her. And I kind of want to paint them all up and make like a little diorama or display. I doubt I'm going to play Crisis Protocol, because I don't play as much as I paint. I enjoy painting. Obviously, I spend a lot of time on that. But I'm not as into... because I'm not a very competitive person, I think, is the thing. So I don't spend as much time playing the game. Sort of like with Magic. I get more enjoyment out of collecting the cards and building my silly decks than I get out of actually playing games. So one thing I do want to do with these fountains, and I've talked about this before when I was looking at them, but this was like more than a month ago. I want to actually put some resin in to make them appear to be filled with water. Or at least filled with something. Silly decks are the best. Oh man, Squirrel Tribal is definitely a thing in the new Modern Horizons 2. If you've looked at some of the spoilers for Modern Horizons 2, squirrels are... drafting squirrels is a legit strategy. I'm looking forward to Modern Horizons 2. I really want to see how it works. I know a lot of folks in the store are curious to know how it's going to impact the modern scene in the store, because Battleground has a very active modern community, and they're all sort of monitoring the Modern Horizons spoilers and pondering things to do. I didn't watch Loading Ready Run's Modern Horizons 2 pre-release, which was on Wednesday. I should perhaps go back and check out the VODs. Because A, they're fun to watch, they're funny people, and they make great content, and B, I want to see what they open and what they build. I'm hoping to actually end up playing in some of the pre-releases at the Abington store when Modern Horizons 2 drops. That's pretty. Okay, I'll do these stony bits next. Let's do them in basalt gray. Very excited dogs outside. We have a few neighbors with dogs, so barking is not uncommon in my neighborhood. You're also really into spiders? I mean, if you play EDH, there's a spider commander now. I believe she came out of Dominaria? It feels relatively recent, but time is an illusion for me. I very quickly lose track of time these days. I do like how Wizards has been making an effort to provide commanders for various archetypes. They had a spider commander, they had a bear commander within the last year or so, or last 2-3 years. It's been a while. Alright, so this is getting close to just needing a wash and some highlights. I want a different color for the base of the quote-unquote pool in here. Alright, here's a question for you, chat. Should I make the bottom of this a sickly green, as though it's filled with disgusting mold? That's my inclination. Or should I just make it brown, as if it's got mud at the bottom of it? No, I absolutely agree with EDH. It is by far the most popular format for casual Magic, just by a huge, huge margin. We have so many Commander players who come in almost on a daily basis and are constantly tweaking and adding new stuff and building new decks. It is a deck crafter's dream. I love Commander. It's such a challenge to achieve consistency when you have so much variety in your deck. You're right, Sphere Song, because you can't have 4 of a kind, because Commander is a singleton format. You have to be a little more creative in your deck building. Right, I think... good thinking, Sphere Song. Go with brown for the base, and then mix some green in with the resin. So there's mud at the bottom. And then when we add the resin, it will add that green. This will also work with the wash because I'm going to do a brown wash. The reason I want to put resin in here is because it's something I don't have a lot of practice with. And as you folks know, I love, or the whole purpose of this stream is to experiment and push myself and do new and interesting things, and resin is definitely one of those things I want to experiment with. One of my down the line projects that I want to work on is I want to build and paint as a display piece a fountain, and I have all the pieces, well, most of the pieces for it. I don't have the fountain itself because I'm going to be constructing that, but I have all the accoutrement that I'm going to put around the fountain and stuff. So that's a display piece that I have sort of on my back burner that I will be coming in to do at some point. That will be a future project. It'll probably take me about a month to do because it's not a simple project. There are so many painting projects I want to undertake. So, I guess what I'm saying is I have many months of content planned already for this stream. Not going to run out of things to paint anytime soon. I don't think that's anything that anybody has trouble with. Like, amongst the modelers and painters that I know, not having something to do is not a problem that anybody has. far more frequent is I have too much on my to-do plate. I shouldn't be buying more models. There is so much that I have not finished. That is the general mantra. And I am definitely one of those. I have more models than you could shake a stick at lying around. And many of them I have plans for what I want to do with them. There we go. Alright, so that fountain, I think this is ready for a wash. Maybe I'll finish this fountain next week, just as something fun to do. Let's work on this fountain. It's exactly the same piece. Using deck tan as the color for all the stonework here. Project creep is so real. Yeah. Not wrong. I'm just constantly thinking of new and interesting things I want to do. That's why this week has been quite pleasant, is that Stormcast Eternal figure was something quick that I could do in the course of a single week, and I feel like it came out well. It came out pretty much as I envisioned it, which is nice. I got to practice some new techniques. I already have a plan for what I want to do for next month's Community Art Day. So Community Art Day is something that I want to end up being a monthly feature. I'm going to do it on the last Monday of every month, because we did on the 31st. So I'm going to try and make Community Art Day something I do on a regular basis. And I have an idea for what I want to do next Community Art Day. I hope that folks are all working on some art that they can post in my Discord so that I can share it during Community Art Day. And we'll try and make that a regular thing, where every month, the last Monday of the month, we'll do sharing each other's art with each other, seeing what everybody's been working on, and I'll do some sort of smaller project, like a single model, like I did this week. So on these fountains, I debated. They have these eagle heads that are sculpted into the fountain. And I presume that, obviously it's a broken fountain, but I presume that they are intended to be the spouts, the spigots for this fountain. And I debated painting them differently from the surrounding stonework. But then I got lazy. I was like, I could, but I'm not gonna. So they're just gargoyles carved from the same marble as the rest of the piece, in my interpretation. Lobster asks if this is a flowing fountain. I think this is definitely a broken fountain where the water is just rancid, has just been sitting in it. It's probably just filled with rainwater. So if you want a preview of my plan for next Community Art Day, do you want me to spoil it for you folks? Do you want me to tell you what I have planned for this month's Community Art Day as my single figure? Because Fearsong, I actually already have the piece that I'm going to work on this month. It is in my project pile. I could well do a Tyrannid in a future Community Art Day, but I already have the piece that I'm planning to use this coming Community Art Day. Community Art Day for June. Okay, I'll hold off. I'll tease it when we get closer to Community Art Day. Suffice to say, I have a figure picked out. I already have it here on my shelf. And I have a ridiculously ambitious plan for how I'm going to paint it. It should be a lot of fun. And it should be very interesting to see how it comes out if my plan comes to fruition. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Sphere Song. If I have several projects in my queue, to put it up for a vote, see what the community wants me to work on. Whoop. First cat hair of the day there. My plan for next week is to do some more of the chaotic beasts from the WarCry set. Because like I said, I've got 6 of those figures left to do. It's 3 more Raptorix and 3 more Furies. I definitely need practice on the techniques that I was using, especially with the Furies. The first 3 Raptorix that I did came out so well. They're probably the figures I'm most proud of since I started this streaming project. They came out just spectacularly well. And it was not terribly complicated either. They were fairly simple to paint. But just in terms of the paint scheme that I finally came up with and the final look, they came out marvelously. And I'm very, very happy with them. So I'll probably hold off on the Raptorix. So next week, I'll work on 3 more Furies. And then the week after that, I'll work on 3 more Raptorix. And if I can complete those, we'll be done with all the minis in that WarCry set that I've been painting for the past 2 months. And then it's just terrain. So maybe I'll do the rest of the small terrain pieces to round out the month. And then we'll have Community Art Day, and I have a project for that. And then next month, for July, I'll start work on the store demo for Marvel Crisis Protocol. I like having a plan. I like having a notion of what I'm going to be working on. But I'm not averse to the idea of, if I have several things I want to work on, letting my community vote on what they'd most like to see me work on next. So the rest of the small terrain that I have to do, or don't have to do, but that I intend to do for this WarCry demo, let me show off the other small terrain bits that I have sitting on my desk to work on here. So in addition to these 2 fountains, I have 2 small walls, this one and this one. This one's mostly done, just needs a wash, right? I'm not doing anything super complex with that. So I've got those 2 little walls, and then I have, I don't even know if these qualify as terrain, but I have these 2 little broken pillars. So each of these is a pillar lying on its side, broken into several pieces. Some skulls, some amphora. There's these bottles here. And then just dirt surrounding it. Um, this one seems to have some detritus in it. There we go. But yeah, these are just super simple, and I don't even know if they have any impact on the game. They may have just been something to fill up a empty space on the sprue. But they're a cute sculpt, and I want to do some fun stuff with these bottles. These smashed bits of crockery. Just, in the spirit of pushing myself to do something unusual. Many ambitious plans. Probably. I don't know. What's my schedule this coming Sunday? This coming Sunday is Quincy Pride. So in the city that I live in, there's a big Pride festival. And obviously last year's was canceled due to the pandemic. So I wasn't able to attend last year's. I'm looking forward to being able to go to this year's. So I'm definitely doing that. But that doesn't eat up the whole day. That's just a few hours. So I probably will stream on Sunday. I'd like to. And if I do, what I'm going to do is wash on these two fountains. Or at least a wash on that one fountain and finish painting the base coat on this fountain. And maybe work on these little things and that wall. So yeah, work on some of these small terrain pieces on Sunday. And then next week, starting next Monday, I'll work on some Furies again. Got 3 more Furies to do. The last Furies, they were a challenge. I definitely was trying out a lot of techniques with them. Not convinced they came out spectacularly. With the 3 more Furies, I want them to look similar, so I probably won't try to push myself to do anything extraordinarily different with them. It's going to be just trying to make them look like the Furies I've already painted. Thank you. Yeah, the wings were fun. They were kind of busy underneath. I might simplify that process a bit on the second batch. Hopefully they won't look too different from the ones I've already completed. But yeah, we'll work on Furies next week. See if we can do 3 Furies in the space of 5 streams. And then we'll work on Raptorix the week after that. Just as a treat. Because the Raptorix came out looking so good in the end, and I'm looking forward to painting another batch of them. And they were relatively easy, you know, there was not a lot of really difficult or technical stuff involved in making them. It was just very basic. And they came out looking so gorgeous. So we'll do 3 more Raptorix. And then we'll, oh gracious, I just put my thumb right into the wet paint there. Go me. I wonder if there's any murder mysteries where the detective determines something about the mystery based on fingerprints in the paint of a painting project. I definitely have left a number of my fingerprints on some of these pieces I've worked on. Alright, so I think I am approaching the end of today's stream. Thank you for joining me, friends. Song, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Having you in chat is always a pleasure. I most likely will be streaming at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And then my next scheduled stream is next Monday. Again, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll get working on those Furies. I want to see if I can finish just the stonework base coat on this. I might not have time to do it today. I have chores that I have to attend to. I have to do some adulting. But it has been a pleasure hanging out with you folks and getting a little bit more work done on some figures. Struggled with some eyeballs. They're still not perfect. But I think we're going to just accept that they're not perfect and move on. If I spent all my time working on nothing but eyeballs, maybe someday I would achieve the perfect eyeball. But today is not that day. And I'm pretty happy with how that Stormcast Eternal figure came out, with its fun light sourcing and such. Definitely got some good practice in on some technique there. And it's another skill in my skill set that I have available to work with going forward. Yes, tonight over at twitch.tv/merrimanlion, Amanda will be reading a little bit more of The Grey King by Susan Cooper. Definitely my favorite of the Dark is Rising series. And I'm enjoying Amanda practicing her Welsh accent, and there is a fair amount of Welsh in the book that she is attempting to read without mangling it too much. So I feel like she's handling it pretty well. And every day, I'm getting a little bit closer to affiliate. Right now, we're just working on the average number of viewers. If I can keep my average number of viewers at or above 3 per stream with the number of followers I have, I feel like that's attainable. But if we can keep the average viewers at or above 3 per stream, I'll get affiliate, and we'll start getting some cool new things for the stream, like emotes. We've already got the VIP badges, as evidenced by both of you, Lobster of Revenge and Sphere Song, who both have the little VIP diamond there. Congratulations on being awesome. Every day, the stream is getting better. I have some stuff going on in the background, so every day we're getting a little bit better. And it is all thanks to you folks who hang out with me and keep me company while I'm painting. It is your moral support that makes this all worth doing. So thank you everybody for joining me today. Thank you to everybody who's watching the VOD or the YouTube archive. Feel free to pop into the comments if you have anything that you want to bring to my attention or anything you want to add to the conversation. I look forward to Community Art Day for June. That will be a lot of fun too. So I'm going to finish the last 2 sides of this, and then I think I'm going to wrap up, and I will be back hopefully on Sunday. In the meantime, I hope everybody has a wonderful week or weekend. I know the store is going to be busy this weekend because we've got new Pokemon pre-release stuff coming out. Of course, next weekend is pre-releases for the new Magic set, Modern Horizons 2. Busy, busy times if you're a fan of games. Which obviously I am. There. Alright. So I didn't do the inside edges of this, but everything else is done on that. So, progress! Hooray! Thank you for joining me, folks. It was a productive stream. I'm liking these new brushes. We'll have to hope that I don't destroy them too quickly. Try and preserve them. So, thank you for joining me, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy whatever it is you're having planned for this weekend. I look forward to painting with you again soon. Be excellent to each other. and enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do. Take care, everybody.